The following is an RC Racing TV special exclusive and contains actual autopsy footage, which may contain material which some viewers may find objectionable. Viewer discretion is advised. Until now, race-winning RC cars took their secrets with them to the grave. But today, the RC pathologist has the tools and understanding to dissect winning vehicles from the past, allowing them to reveal their secrets with amazing accuracy. Now you can enter this world, a world both fascinating and forbidden. This is the world of RC Autopsy. Tonight on the slab is
Marc Rheinard's 2020 Worlds-winning Schumacher Eclipse 3.
So, we're back again. This time I'm with Andy Murray, on-road specialist. Obviously I am not. So he's come to help out with this autopsy today. So, under our sheet we have two very low-looking cars. So let's have a look. Wow. Andy, tell us whose cars these are and what are they?
Okay, so on this side we have Marc Rheinard's World Championship winning car from nearly 4 years ago in Milton Keynes. And then to this side we've got Michael Olowski's recently World Championship winning Eclipse 5. So this was an Eclipse 3 and this was 2 generations later on.
Wow, okay, so we've hopped 2 generations, because this was before COVID, really. Well, it was the start of it, wasn't it? After that Worlds, everyone got sick and the world shut down.
Yep.
And then this one's obviously only from very recently. I won't say how long ago, because I don't know when this is coming out. But this car, we can't take the body off yet, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, some secret parts under there.
Yeah, just a few.
Yeah, there. So this one, well done to Michael. And we're going to move this one just under the table, because we're not allowed to look at it.
That's classified.
But this one we are. So, Worlds, Milton Keynes. Yeah, was it the first 112 Schumacher Worlds win?
Yes.
I mean, we talk about stickers on other cars. I don't know how much you'll be able to tell us, because obviously it's Marc's car. Mm-hmm. Obviously Schumacher was his chassis sponsor for the event. Tony Sport, we know, is Marc's brother and, you know, big supporter, and probably sent him there. But then Volante tyres?
Yep, touring car tyre brands. So
what tyres are on this one?
this was a control tyre for the race. So
okay.
Everyone got handed out the same brand of tyres, which is Japan Foam Tyre, or JFT.
Right.
So yeah, that wasn't a sponsor. It was just what everyone had to use in the regulations.
Fair enough. And then TD, Marc's painter.
Yeah, at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably changed now, hasn't he? A paint or something.
Yeah.
MP stickers, nice and obvious. Much more down the side. Electronic sponsor.
Yep.
And then we've got Power HD, obviously servo, we'll see it in just 2 seconds. And Tony Sport again. And then Axon on the inside. Do they do spur gears for 12 scale?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it on this one?
Not sure.
Oh, we're going to find out. So I'll take the body off. One thing, you know, I'm no on-road guy, but one thing I can say that even between Marc's car here and Michael's car is the body is so thin on Michael's. I mean, this is thin, but the other one's crazy. Like, just weight advantage.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a fact of the times. So, you know, bodies have been getting lighter and lighter, and the manufacturer have been betterly set up to make lighter and thinner bodies accurately. But also, actually, so this one from 4 years ago was about 35 grams, and they've dropped down to like as low as kind of 20 grams now.
Right.
The one Michael was using was about 21 grams. There's 2 things. You don't really need to use bodies that light now, except for it's particularly important in the conditions like this Worlds where you're on super high traction, cars are trying to flip over and you're using glue on the tyres to stop them from rolling over.
Right.
So obviously centre of gravity in those conditions is really important. So that's why we chose to use like the lightest option available.
Definitely. And no paint, right?
Yeah, exactly. Basically no paint. Whereas in this World Championship, centre of gravity is still important, but it was less important. So,
yeah. And
also bodies weren't actually available that light at that time.
Yeah. So this was the lightest at that time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Did he use this body?
He raced it.
Okay.
He didn't continue. It was a bit damaged, but also we swapped to a different brand.
Right.
Again,
right.
swapped to Montec halfway through that race.
So he was on a one one colour body.
It looked like the other one.
Yeah. I mean,
but
it's
he
a trend.
did qualify with this for
Okay.
some of the event.
We'll let him off then. I mean, it looks cool anyway. Right, so here it is. I mean, I haven't looked at a 12 scale for a while.
Yep.
I feel like I need to order one because after watching Michael last week, it feels like I need to drive one now. Right, talk us through it. I'll let you lead this and just tell us what's in there and what's...
Okay, we'll start from the rear then. So probably a couple of years before this World Championships, the use of solid rear axle took off. Before that, the sort of Cecil Schumacher invented ball diff was pretty readily used constantly. It started out again in this high traction in America. They realised that you could use a spool and unload the inside tyre, and it gave a lighter drivetrain, but also much better on power steering and traction off the corner.
Like a go-kart.
Exactly. So they're pretty exclusively used now. Only in really low grip or tarmac conditions would they use a ball diff or a gear diff or something like that. Yeah, you've just got a rear pod assembly, which is how the suspension works. So you've got your motor attached to that as well as the rear drive, and that's suspended off kind of a vertical stiffness spring and then roll stiffness, which you would see doing this. And then that's controlled by these damping tubes, which are like oil filled, and they're still current today, but the design has moved on a little bit on the later cars. Yeah, so you've got tiny little springs down here, and then these tubes, which are like two-piece oil friction dampers kind of thing. Then it has side linkages and pivots to connect the chassis with the rear pod, and then our aluminium chassis, which is pretty much always used now for the conditions at 12 scales racing. And then going forward, you've got your battery here, electrics, and then a kind of simplified from a few years ago front suspension, where we found the geometry that seemed to work, and they used to have more complex kind of reactive casters, like adjustable caster front suspensions with upper link with kind of dynamic camber changing and things. And we discovered a few years ago, actually around this time, that it wasn't really bringing anything apart from complexity, confusion in setup, and so that's kind of where it ends.
Cool. Yeah, because I can see the side pods on whatever the top rails around here are connected to nothing. That
was a setup tweak for that. So we still have the same things. If you connect them to the chassis there, it gives your car like a smoother drive,
right?
More suited to the higher traction conditions and things like that.
Gotcha.
So that's just the top decks for the car, really, like controlling stiffness of the chassis.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
And then obviously in here he does have his servo, which is an M9 Power HD. It's got his name on it, obviously fancy. He's running his much more speed control then, obviously since changed brands, but then with a fan, Samuel receiver. Oh no, a much more version, but for a Samuel radio, MRT transponder, and a much more battery. Looks like the rubber's corroded. This has had its time.
Yeah, exactly. It's done worse than the tyres.
And a 3.5 turn motor, obviously running single cell battery.
Yep.
I mean, pretty simple things, aren't they? I'm sure they're massively complex when you're talking about setup, but to actually build them.
Yeah, it's they're simple in terms of the parts count, but then because of the simplicity and the lack of complex suspensions, it means that everything you have within the design scope and setup scope has to be right, because there's so little to get right, but then there's so little to get wrong.
Man, I'm right about him. I'm always right. It's like when I'm right, I'm right. And when I'm wrong, I could have been right. So I'm still right because I could have been wrong.
So you have to make sure you're on top of everything that you're running.
Yeah, definitely, because it looks like you can move the servo.
And that's in this design, it's kind of just centering to put the spline on the centre of the chassis.
Right, because they're all slightly different. I guess.
They all have different offsets. Later, we've changed with the Eclipse 5 to cater for a direct mount for the most popular Samuel servo.
Yep.
With like a over-the-top servo mounting for that controls the others. In doing that, you've just got countersunk screws, and you can just screw it directly into the centre.
Yeah. Nice. And then there's a servo saver.
Yeah.
I guess that's pretty industry standard. No one runs a direct.
No, they don't. I don't think they do anyway. Well, we certainly don't. We've for many years used this Kimbrough brand servo saver that's in this car.
Yep.
at the recent Worlds with Michael, we used this Schumacher Impact servo saver, which is a bit stronger, but it's not really a need for the servo saver's strength. People always talk about how they put your steering out of control and the spring isn't strong enough, but that's not really why we use the Impact servo saver. It's kind of a different acumen because the balls on the servo saver are a bit closer together.
Yep.
So that's when we choose to use that. But yeah, never a direct servo horn for 12 scale.
And what type of steering curves and stuff are commonly used? Because I know when I did 12 scale a little bit, unless I ran quite a lot of steering curve, for me it was very difficult to drive.
Yeah, because they're very responsive.
Yeah. I didn't know if that was still a thing or it's tweaked acumen to get around that now.
I know it's probably still quite common with touring car in terms of steering curves and speeds and things like that on the radio. I tend to use a stick radio, the Samuel XUZZ, and I even on my touring car use like minus 35.
Okay.
So on this it would be between there and kind of minus 40. But then I know that Michael doesn't use so much, or Ollie Bain, they kind of use like minus 10. But obviously on a wheel radio it's a little bit different for Michael as well.
Yeah, although he loves to drive around the trim anyway. I like to use a lot more lock than he does, even on our off-road car.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I couldn't drive with what he does. Yeah, so is there anything else different? I mean, from this, they're very, awesome machines, super fast. Obviously, the tyres, are they 1 run, 2 runs? How many runs were you doing these?
Yeah, the Worlds, I think, this Worlds and also the recent one, we had enough tyres for new every run because they give you the sets for the race. Doesn't mean to say that you have to use that many. And even in this Worlds, like all the drivers had 1 set per run. Yeah. But people were realising they were quicker on the used tyres and like leaving tyres in the box and just using the old ones. That's not what Michael did. We ran new every run, but for some guys, older tyres are a bit smoother to drive. They're smoother starting of the run and a bit more consistent and things. Yeah. But then we run them very small, so they can't do many more runs than like 3 or 4 maximum really. And that's kind of, and if they did, you'd start too big and probably damage them and things.
Yeah, chunk them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're tiny little things. So obviously these are extremely evolved compared to, let's bring out a little relic under here. One of these. Look at this. Do you know anything about this one?
It was a bit before my time.
Well, it's got no reverse, apparently. It says, sorry, no reverse on there. But this would have been one of the originals. And yeah, I mean, it looks the same in the fact it's got 4 wheels and it's the same size, but other than that, it's a pretty basic looking thing.
Yeah, they clearly don't have any kind of spring-based suspension. It's all flexibility of that Lexan chassis creating any suspension in the car. Yeah. You've still got, right, clear. Now you've still got you have got one of the early ball diffs in this that Cecil was working on. Clearly the tyres are used in a very different way with the silicone.
Yeah, this one's like a monster truck, huh?
Yeah, and the size of the tyres is, I'm sure they weren't racing on carpet back then, so they're trying to find grip in different ways than now, where the track has huge grip compared.
Yeah, Robin or Trish, I can't remember, said they ran foam with like a silicone sealant on there.
They kind of like wrapped it onto the tyre to create grip.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know why there's a polystyrene block in there. You have any ideas?
Not sure.
I guess the servo would have been still rear mounted, but yeah, maybe that was how they turned it. But yeah, it's, as you can see, they've moved on quite a lot from this bad boy here. So good job. Right, let's get this guy back away and we'll move on. I don't think there's too much else we can look at. We can try and take the battery out and see if there's anything hiding under here. Obviously, it's already half out anyway. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, I'll let you take it out.
Damaged.
Yeah, put a new one in, just don't tell Mark.
They stick these in, so I don't know how sticky that tape will be.
Oh, okay. Well, if they're stuck in, I wouldn't worry too much.
I can't do it.
Nah.
I just can't do it, Captain.
I do have the power!
So they're stuck in, and then this is just a safety feature.
Yeah, so we basically double-side them, but you take them directly off every run, so it doesn't it seems with a few years it's like
the glue's cured and it's done now.
You can see the centre pivot from the underside, so that's what connects the back to the chassis, basically, these two aluminium parts.
Yeah.
That's all you would see under the battery anyway. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, I think I need to order one to learn more about this. So yeah, you might have to build me one.
Maybe not.
Can do.
But yeah, awesome. Thank you very much for taking us through that.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks guys for watching.